A photograph emerged yesterday that intelligence analysts are calling either the most dangerous leak of the decade or the most sophisticated disinformation campaign ever attempted. The image shows what appears to be Jong, seated across from a figure intelligence sources believe to be a high-ranking Al-Qaeda operative, deep inside what looks like a fortified mountain facility. Between them on the table, cryptocurrency hardware wallets, satellite communication devices, and what appears to be technical blueprints. If this meeting actually happened, we're looking at a convergence of state-sponsored nuclear capability with decentralized terrorist networks. And if it didn't happen, well, someone with serious resources wants us to think it did. The timing couldn't be more suspicious. This image surfaces just weeks after North Korea's latest missile tests, and days after intelligence agencies warned of increased chatter around cryptocurrency-funded terrorist operations. Either we're witnessing the birth of the world's most dangerous partnership, or we're watching someone orchestrate the perfect geopolitical panic. In a forgotten Simpsons episode from the early 2000s, Moe's Tavern becomes a meeting place for two suspicious characters who speak in code about digital coins and mountain hideouts, while Springfield's nuclear plant glows ominously in the background. Even cartoon prophecies are starting to feel uncomfortably accurate. Here's what makes this photograph genuinely terrifying. It represents the intersection of everything Western intelligence has been dreading for the past decade. North Korea possesses nuclear weapons and increasingly sophisticated delivery systems, but lacks the global reach for asymmetric operations. Al-Qaeda and affiliated networks have proven expertise in international terrorism and recruitment, but lack access to weapons of mass destruction. This meeting, if real, could represent the perfect merger of capabilities that keeps defense analysts awake at night. The facility itself tells a story. Enhanced analysis of the background reveals reinforced concrete walls, industrial ventilation systems, and what appears to be electromagnetic shielding equipment. This isn't a hastily arranged meeting in some safe house. Someone invested serious resources in creating a secure environment for sensitive discussions. The question becomes, who has the capability to construct this type of facility, and why would they risk hosting such a dangerous convergence of interests? Let's pretend for our own sanity that this isn't real. Even as a fabrication, this image represents sophisticated psychological warfare. Someone understood exactly which combination of figures and symbols would generate maximum anxiety in Western intelligence circles. The cryptocurrency wallet suggests untraceable funding mechanisms. The satellite communication equipment implies global coordination capabilities. The technical blueprints hint at knowledge transfer that could weaponize existing terrorist networks in unprecedented ways. But here's where things get uncomfortable. North Korea's economy is collapsing under international sanctions, and the regime desperately needs alternative funding sources and strategic partnerships. Cryptocurrency has already provided sanctions relief, but imagine if that digital currency expertise could be monetized through partnership with networks that specialize in global operations. Al-Qaeda affiliates, meanwhile, have struggled with funding since traditional banking systems became hostile territory after 9/11. A partnership offering both cryptocurrency expertise and state-level protection could revitalize their operational capabilities. The economic implications ripple outward in waves that should terrify anyone paying attention. If North Korea begins providing cryptocurrency laundering services for terrorist networks, traditional financial sanctions become worthless. Worse, if this partnership involves technology transfer, we could see terrorist organizations equipped with state-level cyber capabilities, satellite communications, and potentially access to materials for dirty bombs. The global economy isn't prepared for non-state actors with state-level resources. From a technological perspective, this represents the nightmare scenario that cybersecurity experts have been modeling for years. North Korea has demonstrated sophisticated cyber capabilities, including the ability to infiltrate international banking systems and cryptocurrency exchanges. Al-Qaeda networks have proven adaptable to new technologies and effective at recruiting technical talent. A merger of these capabilities could produce cyber-terrorist operations that combine state-level sophistication with the unpredictability of non-state actors. Consider the implications for critical infrastructure. North Korean hackers have already demonstrated the ability to disrupt power grids, financial systems, and communication networks. If that expertise becomes available to terrorist networks operating within Western countries, traditional counterterrorism approaches become obsolete. How do you defend against adversaries who combine the patience and long-term planning of state actors with the ideological commitment and operational flexibility of terrorist organizations? Now here's the part nobody is talking about. This image could represent something even more dangerous than a simple alliance between North Korea and Al-Qaeda. What if it represents the emergence of a new model of asymmetric warfare, where rogue states begin franchising their capabilities to non-state actors? Instead of direct confrontation with superior Western military forces, authoritarian regimes could simply provide technical support, training, and resources to proxy networks that operate beyond traditional deterrence models. The cryptocurrency wallets visible in the leaked photograph deserve deeper examination because they reveal technical details that intelligence agencies are definitely not discussing publicly. Enhanced image analysis shows what appears to be Monero hardware wallets, specifically designed for maximum transaction privacy. Monero transactions are virtually untraceable, unlike Bitcoin, which leaves digital footprints that law enforcement has learned to follow. If North Korea is providing Monero expertise to terrorist networks, we're looking at funding mechanisms that could make traditional financial intelligence completely obsolete. Here's what makes this terrifying from an operational perspective. Al-Qaeda's historical weakness has always been funding and logistics. Bank transfers can be monitored, cash smuggling leaves physical evidence, and traditional money laundering requires cooperation from financial institutions that governments can pressure. Cryptocurrency eliminates all of these vulnerabilities, but it requires technical expertise that most terrorist organizations simply don't possess. North Korea, however, has spent years developing cryptocurrency capabilities specifically to evade sanctions. The satellite communication equipment visible in the background suggests something even more sophisticated than financial cooperation. Those aren't commercial satellite phones. The antenna configuration and equipment housing indicate military-grade communication systems capable of encrypted transmission to multiple satellites simultaneously. If North Korea is providing secure communication infrastructure to terrorist networks, coordinated international operations become possible on a scale that traditional counterterrorism isn't designed to address. In another Simpsons episode that feels disturbingly prophetic, Mr. Burns meets with a mysterious foreign businessman in his underground bunker, while Bart discovers a hidden cryptocurrency mining operation in the school basement. The episode ends with Lisa warning that digital money in the wrong hands could fund anything, while nuclear plant monitoring systems mysteriously malfunction. The writers couldn't have known they were describing the future of asymmetric warfare, but somehow they captured exactly the convergence of technology, ideology, and state power that this leaked image represents. Let me paint 3 scenarios that keep me awake at night. Scenario 1. This meeting was real, and we're witnessing the birth of the world's first cryptocurrency-funded, state-sponsored terrorist network. Within months, we see coordinated cyber attacks on Western infrastructure, funded through untraceable digital currencies and supported by North Korean technical expertise.
Traditional counterterrorism becomes impossible when your adversaries combine ideological motivation with state-level resources and operate through decentralized digital networks. Scenario 2. This image is disinformation, but it's designed to test Western response capabilities and intelligence coordination. Someone wants to know how quickly we detect fabricated evidence, how intelligence agencies share information about emerging threats, and what countermeasures we deploy against sophisticated psychological operations. The image itself becomes a weapons test for future disinformation campaigns that could precede actual terrorist operations. Scenario 3, and this is the one that really disturbs me. This meeting represents something we haven't considered yet. What if cryptocurrency technology has already enabled forms of international cooperation that traditional intelligence simply cannot monitor? What if state and non-state actors are already collaborating in ways that make this photograph merely confirmation of existing relationships rather than evidence of something new? The cryptocurrency angle deserves special attention because it represents a genuine revolution in terrorist financing. Traditional money laundering requires banking systems, physical infrastructure, and creates paper trails that intelligence agencies can eventually follow. Cryptocurrency, especially privacy-focused alternatives, can enable completely untraceable transactions between parties who never meet physically and never reveal their identities. If North Korea is already using cryptocurrency to circumvent sanctions, and terrorist networks are adopting the same technology, we're looking at funding mechanisms that exist entirely outside traditional financial oversight.
But here's what I think is actually happening. This image is real, but it doesn't represent what it appears to represent. Intelligence agencies allowed this meeting to occur because they're monitoring a larger network, and this photograph is either an intentional leak designed to panic competing intelligence services, or it was released by a third party with interests in destabilizing both North Korean and terrorist operations. The question becomes, who benefits from exposing this relationship, and what are they trying to achieve? The global implications extend far beyond terrorism and cybersecurity. If rogue states begin providing technical support to terrorist networks in exchange for cryptocurrency funding and operational flexibility, traditional diplomatic and economic pressure becomes meaningless. Sanctions lose effectiveness when target regimes can access alternative funding through criminal partnerships. Military deterrence fails when adversaries can retaliate through proxy networks that operate beyond traditional targeting. And this is where the final Simpsons prediction becomes genuinely disturbing. In a rarely seen episode, Chief Wiggum discovers that the Springfield Mafia has been secretly cooperating with foreign visitors who pay in computer money. When Marge asks how this is possible, Professor Frank explains that digital currency allows cooperation without trust, authority, or geographical limitations. The episode ends with mysterious explosions visible in the distance while everyone in Springfield pretends nothing unusual is happening. Even in cartoon form, the writers somehow understood that cryptocurrency would eventually enable forms of criminal cooperation that traditional law enforcement couldn't address. Let's assume this meeting was real and ask the uncomfortable question, what comes next? If North Korea and Al-Qaeda have established operational cooperation, other rogue states and terrorist networks will certainly notice. Iran could begin providing technical support to Hezbollah through similar arrangements. Russia could franchise cyber capabilities to criminal organizations that target Western infrastructure. China could enable industrial espionage through partnerships with hackers who operate beyond traditional legal reach. The response from Western intelligence will likely involve increased monitoring of cryptocurrency transactions, enhanced cybersecurity measures for critical infrastructure, and closer coordination between agencies that traditionally operate independently. But defensive measures may prove inadequate against adversaries who combine state resources with non-state operational flexibility.
Traditional deterrence assumes rational state actors who fear retaliation. Terrorist networks in cryptocurrency-funded operations exist specifically to operate beyond traditional deterrence models. What do you think this meeting was really about? Do you believe Kim Jong-un would risk exposing his regime to additional sanctions for the sake of terrorist cooperation? Or is someone trying to frame North Korea for operations they're not actually involved in? If you had to guess, who benefits most from this image becoming public? Which intelligence agency or foreign government would be your primary suspect? And here's the question that keeps me wondering. What would the Simpsons writers say if they knew their random cryptocurrency and terrorism jokes from 15 years ago were turning into documentary footage?
The economic markets have remained surprisingly calm despite this image surfacing, which suggests either that investors don't believe it's real or that sophisticated money has already priced in the possibility of cryptocurrency-funded terrorism supported by rogue states. Bitcoin prices actually rose slightly after the image appeared, which either indicates confidence that increased government attention won't significantly impact cryptocurrency adoption, or that markets expect this type of criminal cooperation to drive demand for decentralized financial systems. But here's the final twist that makes this whole situation even more unsettling. 3 hours after this image began circulating on secure intelligence channels, a new photograph appeared, showing the same mountain facility, but empty. No people, no equipment, no evidence that any meeting ever occurred. Either someone has access to real-time intelligence about this facility and wanted to demonstrate that capability, or we're watching the most sophisticated disinformation campaign in modern history unfold in real time. If that second photograph is real, it means someone is monitoring intelligence agencies monitoring the original image. We're not just looking at potential terrorist cooperation. We're looking at evidence that unknown parties have penetrated the intelligence community deeply enough to track classified information flow and respond within hours. That level of access suggests either massive counterintelligence failure or that the entire sequence was orchestrated by actors with resources that rival state-level capabilities. What concerns me most is the possibility that this is just the beginning. If someone can fabricate evidence convincing enough to fool preliminary intelligence analysis and then demonstrate real-time monitoring of how that evidence spreads through secure channels, we're facing adversaries with capabilities that traditional security models aren't designed to address. The question isn't whether Kim Jong-un met with al-Qaeda leadership. The question is, who has the resources to make us believe he did, and what they're planning to do with that capability?